the intrinsic value of creativity. Creativity has an intrinsic value, a natural value within it, inborn. And by creativity, I don't mean only creating physical things, things that you can see, that you can use. Of course, that is the ultimate part, but the part behind it, in Italian we say a monte e a valle. A valle means on the valley. On the valley is creativity, things you can see, furniture, cars, buildings, being creative in producing these things, a valle. But then there is a monte, which is on the mount behind the valley, are other things that can be created, things and subjects belonging to humanism, humanistic subjects like philosophy, religion, sociology, psychology, all those humanistic values. They are a monte, at the mount behind. So you can create things, a monte, and you can create things, a valle, on the valley, which are things that most people understand and comprehend and can see and can use. What I'm trying to say by creativity is making things up. The most courageous persons in the society are the persons that make things up, create things out of nothing, just saying things and not being afraid. 99.9% of people are afraid of novelties, of inventing things, of making up things out of nothing, not knowing that almost the majority of things belonging to humanistic subjects are made up. I will give you a practical example of the Zacharian Christian Gnosticism. This is something I made up. I made up my own religion. It's called the Zacharian Christian Gnosticism. It is strictly composed by one person. It does not have disciples. It is totally anti-hierarchical, so I don't accept anybody under me. So the main feature or condition is not having anyone below. No hierarchy whatsoever. So it's a new religion composed strictly by one person. It does not have the desire of proselytizing, of having students, scholars, disciples below, because it's like my own fingerprint, my own spiritual fingerprint. What I say, what I think, belongs only to me. So I have invented, I have made up this new religion, and it is the most unique religion because it does not accept to have other students, other people who are converted to my religion. So not only I'm not interested in converting anybody, but anyone who is interested in getting into my religion will be fully thrown out from that religion, because it's my own religion. It's like if you come and take my finger and you want to cut my thumb, my finger, and take my own fingerprint. You cannot. You have your own fingerprint. And the main goal of the Zacharian Christian Gnosticism is to push people not to abandon their own religion, their own spirituality, their own building where they pray, but to make up their own religion privately, just like I'm doing it, sharing it with whoever they want, and making the principle of not having anyone under them. So everyone should have their own religion. So this is my religion, and it has only one disciple, and that is myself. It does not accept anybody in the world to join it. And I could have tens of thousands of people, starting from the people who found jobs in these years, almost 20 years helping people to find jobs. So there are tens of thousands of people. So many of them would be very happy and thankful because they found a job, a lifetime job, and many jobs they leave and they found another one and another one. So as a minimum, they'll be happy to know what I believe in and to make part of my religion. So I could have thousands of people, and each one of them will bring other people. I could be a chief, a boss of a religion, even if it is small, even with only 20,000 people, or even with 200 people. It could be done very easily. But I don't accept, I don't want, because I have invented, I have created this new religion composed of one person. It's called the religion, the Zacharian Christian Gnosticism. And I have coined many protologisms which became neologism. People start talking about a term and becomes a neologism. And if many people talk about it, it becomes a definition, it becomes a real term. One of those neologisms is infantia paralyticus permanentis, IPP1, and infantia paralyticus provvisori, IPP2. And I coined infantia paralyticus permanentis in relation to my study, my observation of animals on their consciousness. Animals not only are sentient creatures and beings, not only sentient, but they are also conscious. They have consciousness. They feel around them, the vibes, the temperature, the light, the people, the modality of the place they are. All scientists agree on that. But I have added something else, which is infantia paralyticus permanentis, which comes from my observations of children. I had many children coming at the mission, the ACAP mission, which I founded in the 4 places, 4 outlets with dampers, and people were coming all the time to have free food, free clothing, find jobs as a caregiver, a domestic helper, etc. And those women or fathers and mothers, they came also with their children. So you can see the pictures in my Facebook profile. So I had to do with those parents as children, and I was always observing them. And even some of my people in my neighborhood, I observed that the children up to the age of 6 months, they don't talk, they don't say not even one word. And between 6 months and 1 year, they start saying the first words. The first one usually is mama or papa, mother, mommy or daddy, and then their own name, and then yes and no. This is what happens with the billions of children around the world. But I noticed something very curious, is that between the 6th and the 8th months, approximately 2 months, those children, they seem to understand what is happening around them. So they seem to have consciousness and understanding also, but they cannot reply. They cannot reply with their hands, with their fingers, with their legs, with their eyes, or with their tongue. They cannot say anything, but they do understand many of the words and sentences also. And I always confronted the parents with this point, saying when every time I found a little boy or a girl between 6 and 8 months or 6 and 9 months, and I would talk to him or her, would notice that they would understand what is being said. And then I confronted the parents, and even recently, a couple of months ago, with a neighbor, I said, when he told me he was 7 months old, I started talking a little bit with this little boy, and I noticed from his eyes that he was understanding. And I reported this to the father. He was near his father, and the father looked at me like surprised and like shocked, and he said, yes, this is my impression. Me and my wife, we talk to him, and we have the impression that he does understand, but he is incapable of saying even not one single word. So I have heard this annotation, this observation from many parents. That's why I coined this condition of Homo sapiens, of the small Homo sapiens, the children between 6 and 8 months, or 6 and 9 months, or 6 and 7 months, it depends. Let's say generally between 6 months and 1 year. I have coined it as infantia paralyticus provvisori. Infantia means infant, paralyticus means paralyzed, and provvisori means temporarily. So they are temporarily paralyzed infants. They cannot express anything, except of course if they are hungry or tired, or they feel hot, or they feel cold, or they have an ache in some part of the body. Then of course they will express themselves by crying or by laughing. As regards to the animals, you can see my video about the animals. I have coined the same type of infantia paralyticus, but I added the word permanentis. So it's infantia paralyticus permanentis. And my observation with animals is that not only they are sentient, as we can all believe and accept, but they also have consciousness. And according to the Zacharian Christian Gnosticism, there is a great possibility that they do understand, just like the little Homo sapiens, the children, they do understand what's happening around them, but they cannot reply. And they have this paralyticus, which is not provisory, it's not temporary for 1 or 2 or 3 months, but it is permanent. God has made it permanent, or let's say the evolutionary process made it in a way that it is permanent. They will never be able, until this era, to express themselves. According to the Zacharian Christian Gnosticism, there is a great possibility that they do understand what we are saying. They do understand even much more than the children what we are saying, even concepts, even logical things. So this is the value of creativity. I'm making things up. This is something new, something which could be described by maybe somebody that is like a nutcase or some sort of pathology. But it is not, because as we can observe it in humans, little boys and girls between the age of 6 and 8 or 6 and 9 months, it is also in other beings. And scientists tell us incredible things about elephants and whales and dolphins and dogs and cats and parrots, things that are incredible. And there is something happening in the animal world. Many observers and scientists and mystics like myself, we think that there is something big which is going to happen. When I say something big and I say things going to happen, I don't mean in the next 1 or 2 or 10 years. It might be in the next 50 years or 100 years. But it's in the process, it's coming. We can feel that there is something coming out. So those animals, they don't have the possibility to reply in any way. If you look in the eyes of an animal and you speak with it, I'm used to say it, not he or she, but we should learn to address them as if they are human beings. You can feel by looking at their eyes that, oh God, maybe he is understanding this animal, this poor little dog or cat. Maybe they do understand what we are saying. You will say, well, why don't they behave in a way that they will let us know that they understood what we are saying? Well, because they have infantia, paralyticus, permanentis. Just like the children have it provvisori for 2 or 3 months, they have it in a permanent way. You cannot, they cannot reply, they cannot say any and give any sign that they did understand. But maybe they are like closed in a bottle, in a glass bottle, where they do understand everything and they cannot reply. Imagine what a nightmare they would be living, understanding really the concepts, understanding everything what's happening around them, and being able to be 100% value witnesses in a courtroom to say what happened, you know, but unable to talk or even to give a sign with the eye. For example, if it is yes, move your eyes on the right. If it is no, move your eyes on the left. So only with this small formula, we can know a lot of things. You know, if there is a crime in a room and a parrot saw it or a cat saw it, you know, if we can just say, is it this person, put your eyes on the right. If it's not, put it on the left. And then we try with all the persons, with a list of 100 people. It would be very useful. But no, they cannot do it. They cannot even move their eye right or left. You will say, why can't they? Why not? I told you why not. Because I have invented infantia, paralyticus, permanentis. They are permanently incapable of expressing themselves. But I have a hint that they do understand. Or there is a great possibility that they do understand. I'm just making things up. Just making them up. Just like Giordano Bruno was burnt at the stake a few centuries ago. One day he was looking at the stars and then he jumped and he said, "Oh my God, they are not stars, they are suns." And they burnt him because the stars are stars and the sun is the sun. He just made it up. He looked at them and he had a hunch and he felt that their brilliance, that their light cannot be from their own. They must be some sort of a sun. And this is even my feeling when I was around 8 years old. My father had me, I was at the age of 6 when he bought for us, or for me because I was the biggest, the encyclopedia, the new book of the knowledge by Grolier, New York, in the early 60s. And from the age of 6 until the age of 12, I read the whole encyclopedia. During summer, winter, all the time I was reading it. Of course, I did not understand it all by heart, but most of the things, many things, I did understand them, and I did not leave almost one page. I read everything, almost everything. And around the age of 8, I came across, by reading about the stars, that many of them were actually suns. And I remember saying in myself, yes, because I was also observing them since very small, and I could not understand, and I never asked anyone why they were so brilliant, because I had so many questions, and this was one of the questions. So by reading it, I said, yes, that's it. So I wasn't as brilliant as Giordano Bruno. He just made it up from his own mind. And he was courageous. And it cost him his life. He not only said that, but he said many things. And there is a big statue of him just a few miles from where I live, in Campo di Fiori, downtown Rome. A huge statue of bronze, beautiful, remembering him. At the time they despised him, they hated him. They said that he was a heretic and they burned him. But now he has all the glories. He even has a road, a nice road, which I'm passing almost every day. just in front of Andrea Doria Market, downtown. There is this Via Giordano Bruno Road, and also Girolamo Savonarola Road. It is parallel to Giordano Bruno Road. Even Savonarola was burnt at the stake because he was preaching novelties, he was preaching new things that were not heard before, and they hated him. And he was described as being a pre-Luther man. Luther, the Catholic monk, who was born as a Catholic and died as a Catholic, but Luther was the man that after him came Protestantism, and then came evangelicalism. We also have the Pico della Mirandola. So Giordano Bruno, Girolamo Savonarola, Pico della Mirandola, they all made things up. Pico della Mirandola was poisoned. He also was very active and creative. He was a mystic, and he studied the Kabbalah. He also studied Gnosticism and Hermeticism, Hermes Trismegistus. So they all spoke about new things. And then let's say it plainly. Not only those personalities and many, many other personalities, but almost all humanistic disciplines, university disciplines, are mostly made up hypotheses or at the best theories. Even the evolutionary theory, the theory of evolution, it's made up. You cannot prove or disprove. Even if they say we have those points or this or that or the other proof, archaeological proof. You can say anything about anything you find. We found this skull, we found this bone, and this is this and this is that. You're making it up. And you have people, all the web of people, they are also making it up. So they help each other. Even the temperature of the sun, even the age of the earth, or the age of the universe, or the dimension of the universe, how many billions of years light it is wide or long, or how many years ago was created, when was the Big Bang. It's all made up. And you will always find scientists with the same PhD on the right hand side of the argument, and scientists with the same PhD on the left hand of the same argument. So scientists by themselves, they contradict each other. Why? Because it's made up. So the humanistic disciplines, which can include made up theories, are psychology, parapsychology, history, religion, jurisprudence, laws. Even law and jurisprudence, you just make up laws. We have this problem, then we will invent this to resolve this problem. Just making up things, inventing them, creating them, which is good, of course. We also have anthropology, making up things, paleontology, paleoanthropology, sociology, politology, philosophy, archaeology, epistemology, all making up things, just making them up. And having people, 200-300 people behind you that are confirming it. They are also making it up. There is an interest. So then you have a whole band of people, a whole group of people saying the same thing in different ways. And then you find among them people who say different things and opposite things. The only things which cannot be fiddled with are the things related to Homo habilis habilis. It's actually called Homo habilis, but I coined it as Homo habilis habilis, twice habilis, which is the Homo sapiens, which is capable of inventing things. So engineering, physics, chemistry, atomic sciences, nanotechnology, medicine, all those things which are a valle, at the valley, things you can see with your eyes, touch with your hands, and use them, and they are useful for the society, then only those things, building a space shuttle, building rockets, airplanes, skyscrapers, ships, cars, airplanes, all those things are not under the umbrella of making things up, because they are subject to the laws of nature, the law of gravity, the different laws of the wind and of physics. So you cannot make up things in this sector. But again, you make up things even in this sector, and when you make them up, then you are producing something useful for the society. Question: can you produce something useful for the society in the humanistic field, the field which I have mentioned before, which is parapsychology, psychology, anthropology, philosophy, sociology? The answer is yes, of course. That's why I have coined many things. You can watch